I'm a firm believer you have to show up authentically. It is too exhausting to wear a mask full time for 7 years. And then I'll tell you, then when you get tenure, they keep you on the hook for another 7+ years because now you go up to full. It's all a trap. So be at the end of the day for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but end of the day for me, being able to be more authentically myself was really important for me surviving it. And one of the things that is also really useful, I love that you came back to mentoring, is we have to see mentoring as a team sport, not as something that you have this one person that's going to give you what you need, because people have different skill sets, different amount of time, different perspectives. I think it's really important to have the mentorship in your department, but also recognizing the limitations and biases of that, having mentorship in your university outside of your department. But very important is having mentorship completely outside of your university. This, for me, came through the psychology of women, through the American Psychological Association. That large group then has interest groups or divisions. And that's where I found my home. That's where I found good mentoring. That's where I found people that could give me that advice, but also give me the strategic pieces I was going to need later. Like, who do I get for letter writers, given what I do is so niche? How do I navigate this? How do I get other job offers that show them that there are places interested in me and get me a raise? Like those kinds of things that become really important that nobody in your department or your university is going to encourage or tell you about. So for me, going to the divisions within my professional organization, belonging to the professional organizations that targeted my identities and needs was really critical in that beginning, especially during the beginning where I felt so confused and out of place because the messages I was getting just didn't seem to map on to what would happen when I go outside of the university. So finding that home, getting lots of different people that can mentor you. And remember, some of those mentors, they might only be there for a season. They might only be there for a particular task. We can't keep expecting that the mentors will be all things for us at all times. But being able to get the more people you have that know you, know you're there, know what you do, and that also brings accountability if they try to get rid of you later.
I would also add, Nicole's comments are making me think about a book chapter we wrote in terms of value-driven service. And so,
Mm.
in terms of thinking about what authenticity may look like for you, I think about value. So, in this kind of broader life and in one's academic life, what are the things that you value and what are the behaviors that represent those values? I would act on those. And which sounds kind of like a hokey answer, but I do think that there is a real importance in terms of being authentic and one's survival within academia. I think on the more practical side, I think it's important to know your policies, your PNC policies. And I think for my department, thankfully, the policies were very clear. And so once I knew that I was adhering to the policies, I kind of showed up the way that I wanted to show up. Long as I knew I was checking off this box, this box, and this box, I didn't put as much thought into kind of how I just showed up authentically because I knew I was meeting all the metrics that they wanted. I know that that varies based on department. Some departments have very ambiguous policies. Mine were really transparent, so I could do that. So that's something to think about. But knowing the policy kind of reduced my anxiety a lot about how I showed up in the academic space.
But your paper, your 2022 paper on turnover intentions really sort of fortifies why it's so important to start to show up authentically. Because it doesn't matter. Like you found that you write in the discussion that even when women and men of color work within disciplinary norms, racism, sexism, and gendered racism will still frame them as illegitimate scholars and non-mainstream. It's built in. And then I just got to read my favorite quotes that I put in all my slides from your 2020 paper. And you were talking about psychology, but it's like psychology's disciplinary norms and values for what constitutes quality and in quotes, quality and rigorous scholarship are at odds with many epistemological assumptions of intersectionality theory. Further, members of marginalized groups, e.g., Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, women, and feminist scholars, are overrepresented as intersectionality scholars. As such, negative stereotypes about these groups are applied to their work and therefore are likely to undermine the perceived legitimacy of intersectionality. Page 5. And so you might as well just be yourself, because this is not really a game that you can win by even, shifting to do the type of research they want. The fact that it's you doing the same type of quantitative research as your peers, it's not good enough because it's coming from you. And so I think, and so you might as well just, be yourself and just,